Why does the little girl have this photo? William Grant's voice trembled, soft and unsteady, the old picture shaking between his gloved fingers as the roar of Grand Central Terminal swirled around him. Just moments earlier, the girl had crashed into him like an unexpected gust of wind, nearly knocking him off balance near track 23 of Grand Central. She had fallen hard onto the cold floor with a frightened cry, and something had slipped from the pocket of her coat, a crumpled photograph, now resting in his hand. The image was faded, its edges curled from years of wear. Inside, it was a woman he hadn't seen in over 6 years, Clara Monroe, barefoot in a field of wildflowers, her radiant smile frozen forever in sunlit sepia tones. She had vanished from his life without a word. 5 months pregnant. He had searched hiring detectives, combing through hospitals, even wandering the Bronx himself, but Clara had dissolved like smoke. And now, here she was again. Not in the flesh, but in a photograph, carried by a frightened little girl who had just collided with him like fate itself had sent her. Before William could make sense of the impossible, a thunderous voice erupted behind him. "Get back here, you little rat." A man lunged toward them, tattered coat flapping, beard streaked with gray, one boot and one bare foot slapping the tile. A homeless man, face twisted in fury, eyes bloodshot with rage. Instinctively, William stepped in front of the girl, arm raised protectively. "Stay back," he said coldly. "She stole my spot," the man shouted, finger trembling. "My blanket, my corner, my coffee. I was there 3 nights already." The girl whimpered from behind William's coat. "I didn't know it was his. I was just cold." The man lunged, fists clenched. "You're all the same, you rats." Before William could speak, the man shoved him. But years of executive travel and survival instinct kicked in. William sidestepped, caught the man's wrist, and twisted just enough to send him sprawling. The man hit the ground with a groan as 2 MTA police officers rushed in, hauling him away. "She's just a child," William growled. "You should be ashamed. She took everything," the man bellowed as he was dragged off. "She doesn't belong here, none of you do." William turned back to the girl, who clutched a threadbare teddy bear, eyes shimmering with unshed tears. "I didn't mean to make him mad," she whispered. "It's all right," William soothed. "You're safe now." Then he lifted the photo. "This fell from your coat. Where did you get it?" The girl looked up tiny. About 6 years old. Skin like polished bronze, lashes clumped with tears. She hesitated, unsure if she could trust him. "That's my mother," she finally said. "Her name's Clara." William's heart plummeted. What happened to her?" "She was hit by a car last month," the girl murmured. "She hasn't woken up. They said I had no family left, so they sent me to foster care. But I ran away." If this story moved you, take a moment to like the video and share your thoughts in the comments. We would love to hear what part touched you the most, and if you want more stories that inspire, make sure to subscribe so you never miss a moment. He felt dizzy. "What's your name?" "Anna." His lips parted. The calculation was undeniable. Clara had left him 6 years ago, pregnant, and now, this child. "She never told me where she went," he muttered to himself. "She just disappeared." Anna tilted her head. "Did you know my mom?" He nodded, voice raw. "Yes. I loved her very much." "You're her old friend?" she asked. "You could say that." William crouched to her eye level. "Where have you been staying?" "Mostly under benches," Anna shrugged. "Once, a church lady let me sleep in the coat room. But the shelters are full. They told me to call the city hotline. But I don't want more foster homes. They don't like me. They kick me out a lot." William studied her face. Every line echoed Clara, the curve of her jaw, the arch of her brow. And behind her eyes, something of his. Something deep, knowing, older than her years. "Are you hungry?" he asked. She nodded shyly. "A little. Come with me," he said gently. "We'll get you food, and somewhere warm to sleep tonight." "Are you sure I can?" she asked uncertainly. William's sad smile was steady. "Yes. I'm sure." He texted Patrick. Urgent pickup. Side entrance. 1 guest. Prepare a room. 10 minutes later, they slipped into the warm leather interior of a black Lincoln Navigator. Anna's eyes widened. Is this a limousine? Not exactly, William chuckled. Patrick eyed him in the mirror. You're late for the online meeting. William's gaze never left Anna. Cancel it. They stopped at a diner on 56th Street. William ordered her grilled cheese and tomato soup, coffee for himself. Anna devoured it, as if it were the finest feast in the world. Between bites, she whispered, You look just like the man in the photo booth picture. Mom showed me once. She said he had sad eyes. I think she meant you. William froze, spoon suspended midair. He had no words. Later, in his glass and steel penthouse, he led her to the guest room. You'll stay here tonight, he said. Clean clothes, soft blankets. No one will chase you away. Anna glanced around wide-eyed. This is mine? For now, he said softly. You're safe. As she curled up on the bed, teddy bear tucked under one arm, the photo beneath her pillow, William retreated to his office. He unlocked a drawer untouched for 6 years and pulled out a stack of unopened letters, all from Clara. His hands trembled. He had tried everything, detectives, bribes, endless dead ends. And then, tonight, Anna, Clara's child. Maybe his child. She didn't know. Clara never told her, never told him. He stared out at the city lights, glass cold beneath his hand. For years, he had commanded data, algorithms, empires, and tonight, everything unraveled with nothing more than a wide-eyed girl and a faded photograph. She was asleep in the next room, and she had no idea how much she was about to change his life. The sun hadn't yet risen when William awoke. He stood at the edge of the penthouse balcony, coffee in hand, watching the horizon slowly blur into color. The city still slumbered beneath the winter haze, muffled and slow, a rare quiet over Manhattan. But his mind, in contrast, raced faster than any algorithm he'd ever written. Anna was asleep just 20 feet away, curled like a comma beneath layers of soft blankets. Her tiny form hadn't stirred once during the night. William had checked on her twice, once at 1:40 a.m., again near 4 o'clock, each time lingering in the doorway longer than he meant to. She looked so small, so out of place in his cold, sterile world, and yet, she looked right. As if something long lost had finally clicked back into place. He hadn't slept well. Not with the unopened letters on his desk. He stared at the top one now, still untouched. Clara's handwriting was unmistakable, curved, careful, the W, in William, always slightly slanted to the right. His fingers hovered over it. He could recite the timeline in his head like a confession. Clara had left him 6 years and 7 months ago. Pregnant. Angry. Hurt. He'd said terrible things, things meant to push her away, and she had disappeared. Just vanished. No address. No calls. No social media. For a man who could track foreign hackers through 5 continents, her silence had been the greatest defeat of his life. Until last night, he didn't even know if she was still alive. Now she was gone for good. He unfolded the first letter. The 12th of August. 6 years ago. Will, I know you probably won't read this, but I'm writing it anyway. You always did say I talked too much when I was nervous. So maybe this is me still trying to get the last word. I didn't leave to hurt you. I left because I didn't want our child growing up with resentment. Not yours, not your parents, not mine. You were right, you weren't ready, but I was. I don't want your money. I don't want your guilt. I just wanted to believe I could do this on my own. But in case I'm wrong, I'm leaving these letters with a friend. If something happens to me, maybe they'll find you, maybe they won't, but I want you to know. Her name is Anna. I named her after my grandmother. You would have liked her laugh. It's loud, joyful, stubborn. William folded the letter slowly, holding it against his chest. He closed his eyes. A soft knock came from behind him. He turned. Anna stood in the hallway, barefoot, her braids slightly crooked from sleep. She rubbed her eyes with her fist. I smelled coffee. Is that real? Or am I dreaming? He smiled, setting the letter aside. It's real. Do you want some? She made a face. Only if there's more milk than coffee. Deal. A few minutes later, they sat at the kitchen island. She swung her legs back and forth beneath the stool, sipping from a white mug with two hands. He'd poured mostly warm milk, a splash of coffee, and a spoonful of sugar. She drank it like it was a reward. "What's the name of your bear?" he asked, nodding toward the worn plush now resting on the counter beside her. "His name is Beans," she said proudly. "He used to be brown, but now he's mostly gray. He's seen some stuff." "Dying," William chuckled. "I believe it." They sat in silence for a while, broken only by the soft hum of the fridge and the wind pressing against the floor-to-ceiling windows. Then quietly, Anna said, "You were kind yesterday." He looked up. "You think so?" "Yeah, most grown-ups just look past me." William felt his throat tighten. "I'm sorry for that." She shrugged, sipping again. "It's not your fault." "Yes," he said gently. "Some of it might be." Anna tilted her head. "Did you know my mom when she was younger?" "I did." "Were you her boyfriend?" He paused, then nodded. "Yes. For a while." Anna watched him with careful eyes. "Did she love you?" He nodded again. "I think she did. And I loved her." "Then why weren't you there when I was born?" The question was a knife wrapped in sugar, blunt but devastating. William set his mug down. "I didn't know she had you," he said quietly. "I tried to find her. But she didn't want to be found." Anna looked down at her mug. She was scared. She said people who used to care stopped caring once she said the word pregnant. William nodded, voice thick. "I wish I could go back." "You can't," she said softly, "but you can go forward." He smiled at that. "You're wise beyond your years." She shrugged. "Books help." He laughed gently. "Do you read a lot?" "When I can, libraries are warm." He made a mental note to get her a library card, and a room of her own, and bookshelves. A phone buzzed on the counter, his private line. He didn't move. Anna glanced at it. "Aren't you gonna answer?" "No," he said. "Not this morning." He walked over to a drawer and pulled out a small jewelry box. He opened it and removed a gold locket, Clara's. Inside was a picture of Clara on one side and a blank frame on the other. He knelt beside Anna and handed it to her. "This belonged to your mom. I think she'd want you to have it." Anna opened it slowly. "She wore this every day." "No." "I know," William said. "She wore it the last day I saw her." Anna looked up at him. "Are you rich?" He smiled. "Yes." "Are you famous?" "Sort of." She leaned forward, eyes narrowed. "Are you lonely?" That one hit hard. He nodded. "Yes." "Me too," she whispered. They stayed like that for a long moment. Two lonely people, connected by a woman who'd left pieces of herself behind in both of them. And for the first time in years, William didn't feel like a ghost in his own life. He felt responsible. Not because of guilt, but because of love he had buried so deep. He'd nearly forgotten what it felt like. Tomorrow, he'd call the lawyer. Get answers. Confirm what his heart already suspected. But today, he would let Anna eat muffins and watch cartoons on his couch, because some mornings were too sacred to ruin with truth. By mid-morning, the penthouse had changed. The silence, once an echo chamber of solitude, now pulsed with new life. Anna's laughter bounced off the marble floors as she raced down the hallway, chasing after a tiny robotic dog William had forgotten he owned. The AI toy barked and spun, tripping over her stuffed bear. William watched from the kitchen, coffee in hand, unable to keep the faint smile from his face. He hadn't heard a child laugh like that in years, certainly not in his home, where guests wore $1,000 shoes and conversations never strayed from numbers, strategy, or quarterly goals. Anna squealed with delight as the toy bumped into the leg of the couch. "Beans!" she cried, scooping up the bear and placing it gently atop the dog. "Now you're a knight riding a robot steed," William chuckled. "You've got quite the imagination." She grinned. "Mom said stories are what keep your soul from shrinking." He paused. That sounded exactly like Clara. There it was again, that quiet ache, like a door creaking open in the back of his heart. Clara's voice, her beliefs, her lightness, the way she used to read to him under cheap fairy lights in her old Brooklyn apartment. She used to say things like that, full of meaning wrapped in whimsy. He'd loved it back then. He hadn't realized how much until now. He cleared his throat and glanced at the clock. Anna, I need to make a quick phone call. Can I trust you not to ride the robot out the window? She laughed. I'm not crazy. Good to know. He stepped into his study and closed the door gently. For a moment, he just stood there, holding his breath, grounding himself. Then he picked up his phone and dialed. The line connected after one ring. Dr. Rosen. Samuel, William said. It's Will Grant. A pause. Will. Haven't heard your voice in over a year. I assume this isn't a social call. It's not. I need a discreet DNA test. There was another pause. Longer this time. Glada? William exhaled slowly. She's gone. A little girl came to me yesterday, Anna. She says Clara was her mother. You think she might be yours? Yes. Send me what you can. I'll handle the rest. Thank you. When he hung up, he sat at his desk and looked again at the stack of unopened letters. His fingers hovered over another envelope. This one was dated 4 years ago. Will, you probably still haven't read the first one. That's okay. I'm not angry anymore. Truth is, I miss you. Sometimes I think I see you on the train, or in a crowd, and for a second, I want to run up and tell you everything. But then I remember, I chose this. Anna is growing fast. She looks like you when she's mad. It's weird. She crinkles her nose and huffs and stomps away. And I see you at 28, yelling about ethics in startup culture. But she's kind, too. Fierce. Protective. She gives away half her snacks at school because she says no one should eat alone. You would have been proud. William closed his eyes. That image, Anna offering snacks to other children, was a bullet to the heart. How could she have inherited that warmth when he had lived in emotional winter for years? A soft knock interrupted his thoughts. He turned. Anna stood in the doorway holding a pencil and a notepad. I wrote something. Can I read it to you? He nodded. Please. She climbed into the leather chair opposite him, her legs swinging. She held up the paper and cleared her throat. It's a poem, she said proudly. It's called The Lady and the Moon. She began to read. Her voice clear, steady, but full of heart. There once was a lady who lived with the moon. She danced every night and slept until noon. She painted the stars and whispered to trees, and never once cared what the world said to be. But one night she cried, and the moon asked her why. She said, I'm alone. Even the stars pass me by. Oh. The moon gave her silence, then offered a smile. Even I, dear, go unseen for a while. The lady still danced, but now she looked high, knowing her light reached far in the sky. When she finished, she lowered the paper and looked at him. William's eyes burned. Did your mom help you write that? No, she said. I wrote it last week. I was thinking about her. He nodded, swallowing a lump in his throat. It's beautiful. Do you think she's in the sky now? I do, he said softly. I think she's watching. Anna looked down at the desk, tracing patterns in the grain. Do you think she forgave you? The question startled him. What do you mean? She told me once that some people leave because they're scared, not because they stop loving. William sat back. I hope she did. I never stopped loving her, not once. Anna didn't say anything. But after a moment, she walked around the desk and hugged him. He froze, caught off guard, then slowly wrapped his arms around her. It was awkward at first. He hadn't hugged a child in years. But then something inside him melted, and the moment turned sacred. He didn't care if she was biologically his. He knew she was his in all the ways that mattered. When they pulled apart, Anna asked, Can we go see where she's buried? William nodded. Yes, we will. But first, he reached into the drawer and pulled out the locket again. Your mom left this for you. Anna opened it carefully, eyes wide. This was hers? Yes, and now it's yours. She held it tightly. Thank you. William smiled, the first real one in years. He didn't know what the DNA test would say. He didn't know what battles lay ahead. But one thing was certain. This little girl, with her poems and her bravery and her grief, had cracked him wide open, and he wasn't going to let her disappear like Clara had. Not this time. Not ever again. Snow was falling again, dusting the sidewalks of Manhattan like powdered sugar over a bitter morning. William stood near the window of his penthouse office, his sharp eyes watching the streets below, his mind lost in a storm of questions. Behind him, the fireplace crackled softly, filling the space with a quiet warmth that somehow only made the silence feel heavier. He glanced at the time, 9:42 a.m. Anna was still asleep in the guest room, curled up beside Beans, the photo of Clara tucked under her pillow. The DNA kit lay on his desk, untouched, the swab instructions peeking out like an invitation he wasn't yet ready to accept. What if the test came back negative? What if she wasn't his? He didn't want to ask that question. Not anymore. His phone buzzed on the table. It was a message from Patrick. Unusual activity. Someone's been asking questions about you, homeless man. Said he knows the girl. William stiffened. He immediately called back. What do you mean he knows the girl, he asked. Patrick's voice came through low and direct. Guy's been seen hanging around the South Terminal again. Claims the girl took something from him. But it's not about a blanket or a spot anymore. He's asking for the man who took her. Keep saying, that girl's not supposed to be gone. Real erratic. William's jaw tightened. Is he dangerous? Don't know yet. I've got 2 of our guys watching. Want me to alert NYPD? William paused. The last thing he wanted was a news headline, not when the girl was vulnerable, not when his name was on every financial news site in the country. Number, not yet. Just keep an eye on him. Discreetly. And don't let him near her. You got it. William hung up and sat down. His fingers steepled. Something wasn't right. Why would a transient man fixate on a random little girl in such a specific way? Was he mentally unstable? Or did he know something more? Something Clara never had the chance to say. He opened the drawer again and pulled out the next letter. This one was marked, "For Will only if I don't make it back." He hesitated, then unfolded the page. Will, if you're reading this, I guess it means I didn't make it. There were things I never said, things I didn't know how to explain. After I left, I moved around a lot. I wasn't hiding from you. I was hiding from the man who followed me after that protest in Philly. You remember? The one we argued about? I saw his face again 3 days later. I don't know who he was, maybe private security, maybe something worse. But he made threats. About me. About my baby. So I disappeared. I thought I could stay ahead of him. Thought I could build a quiet life. But I never really stopped looking over my shoulder. I didn't tell Anna any of this. She's just a child. She deserves light, not fear. If something ever happens to me, find her. She's yours. Even if the blood test says otherwise, she's yours where it counts. Don't let her be lost in a world that doesn't see her. William sat frozen. His blood turned cold as the fire beside him burned low. There was more to Clara's disappearance than he ever understood. More than shame or broken love. She had been afraid, truly afraid, and now someone from that past might still be watching. His thoughts were interrupted by a soft knock. Anna stood in the doorway, eyes still heavy from sleep, wearing one of his oversized sweatshirts that nearly reached her knees. I heard you talking on the phone, she said. Was it about me? William turned gently in his chair. It was just about keeping you safe. Anna shuffled forward, hugging Beans. Was that man? The one from the station? Is he still looking for me? William hesitated, then nodded. Yes. But he won't come near you again. I promise. She didn't look afraid, just tired. Mom used to say there are people in this world who get angry when you smile. She said you should smile anyway. He managed a faint smile. Your mom was right. I want to go see her, Anna said softly. The place where she's buried. William nodded. We'll go today. They arrived at St. Agnes Cemetery in White Plains just before noon. The grounds were quiet, the air crisp. The headstone was modest gray granite. A single word etched deep and clean. Clara Monroe. No dates, no epitaph, just a name. Anna stood still, eyes locked on it. Her hands clutched the locket he'd given her. She didn't like flowers, she said. But she loved dandelions. Said they were wishes pretending to be weeds. William crouched beside her. She made even the weeds feel wanted. Anna knelt and placed a small paper crane on the snow-covered ground. I made it yesterday. I told it to carry a message. What did you tell it? She looked up at him. That I found someone who remembers her the way I do. He couldn't speak. They stayed a long time, silent in the falling snow. Later that afternoon, back in the penthouse, William received another message from Patrick. The man left the terminal. Someone picked him up in a black sedan. No plates. He handed them a folder before getting in. We've got security footage. Want me to bring it? William's heart pounded. Someone had taken interest in Anna and Clara's past. It wasn't random. He looked across the room at Anna, who was drawing with markers on the floor. Bright, wild colors. A sunset full of fire. A little girl with a bear in her hand. Standing beside a man in a long coat. She glanced up. Is it okay if I draw on the table too? He nodded absently. The past wasn't finished with them. And now, neither was he. The elevator doors slid open with a soft chime, revealing the polished marble floor of the private lab on the lower level of William's office building. The place was sterile, pristine, a space designed for silence and certainty. A young technician greeted him with a tight nod and led him into the DNA analysis room. William's fingers curled into fists at his sides. The results were ready. He had sent in the samples under pseudonyms 2 days ago, his own, and Anna's, taken from the soft bristles of her hairbrush. He hadn't told her. He hadn't told anyone. Even Patrick didn't know the full weight of what this visit meant. Dr. Samuel Rosen, in his white coat and rimless glasses, looked up from a thick folder and motioned to the glass-walled conference room. You ready? William nodded and followed. The room was quiet except for the hum of the central ventilation. Rosen closed the door behind them, then placed the folder on the glass table. We ran 3 cross-verification tests, Rosen said, his voice steady and calm. Using autosomal and Y chromosome markers. I didn't want there to be any doubt. William stared at him, his face unreadable. She's yours, Will, Rosen said. 99.9% match. For a moment, the world narrowed. Not metaphorically, truly. His vision tunneled, his ears rang, and he felt something inside his chest collapse and reassemble at the same time. She was his, not just in the emotional, moral sense, but truly, flesh, blood. His daughter. He sat back in the chair, inhaling slowly, like surfacing from deep water. Rosen gave him space. Does she know? The doctor asked gently. William shook his head. Not yet. You planning to tell her? William looked toward the glass wall, where the skyline shimmered in the distance. Soon. But not before I make sure she's safe. Rosen nodded and pushed the folder toward him. There's something else. William raised an eyebrow. We pulled some images from her file, routine photo entries for school records, shelter logs. One of the volunteers apparently scanned some old personal effects of Clara's plans, including this. So, Rosen reached into a separate envelope and laid down a photograph. It was a photo of Clara, taken about 7 years ago. She looked thin, tired, but her eyes were fierce. And standing behind her, half in shadow, was a man, his face partially turned. Grainy, but there was something about him. Cold. Watchful. Wrong. William leaned in. Who the hell is that? Rosen shook his head. No name, no metadata on the photo either. But it was taken near a shelter in Pittsburgh. We flagged the background. There's a mural unique to a block on 15th Street. Could mean Clara was hiding there for a time. William stared at the man's posture. He wasn't close to Clara, wasn't touching her, but he was clearly watching her. Studying her. Like a handler. Like a shadow. He clenched his jaw. Send this to Patrick. Have him run it through facial recognition. Check every government and private security database available. You think this has something to do with why she disappeared? I don't think. I know. He stood, tucking the DNA results into his coat. Keep this under wraps, Sam. No leaks. You got it. By the time William stepped out into the cold January air, snow was beginning to fall again. He didn't head back to the penthouse. Not yet. Instead, He drove himself, for once no driver, no assistance, to the brownstone on 85th Street, where Clara had once lived before she vanished. It had been turned into a co-op now, gentrified beyond recognition, but the alley behind the building was the same. He stood there for a long moment, letting memory wash over him. The way Clara used to leave the back door unlocked for stray cats. The smell of paint and old records. The night they'd argued loudly, viciously, when she told him she was pregnant. She had begged him to listen. He'd told her she was trying to trap him. That was the last time he saw her face in person. And now, Anna. The proof of everything he'd once thrown away. He pressed a hand against the brick wall, grounding himself, then turned back toward the car. When he arrived home, the sun was already low. Anna was curled up on the couch, coloring. She looked up when he entered, her eyes lighting up. "You were gone a long time. I had some things to figure out," he said, setting down his briefcase. "Important things." She studied his face. "You look different." "I feel different." She stood and walked over, holding out a drawing. It was a picture of the two of them at the cemetery, standing beside Clara's grave, with stars in the sky and dandelions all around. William stared at it, the tightness in his chest rising again. "She would have liked you," Anna said. "If you'd met her now." He knelt to her level. "Anna, what if I told you something big?" She tilted her head. "Bigger than the robot dog?" "Much bigger." He took her small hands in his. "The truth is, I didn't just know your mom. I loved her. A long time ago. And, we found out today, that I'm not just someone who's helping you right now." He paused, his voice catching. "I'm your father." Anna stared at him. The world stood still. Then, very quietly, she said, "You're sure?" "I am. We tested it, but I think I knew even before that." She looked down. Her shoulders trembled. For a second, William panicked until she launched forward and wrapped her arms around his neck. He caught her easily, holding her as tightly as he dared. "I was scared I didn't belong anywhere," she whispered. "But now I do." He closed his eyes. "Yes, sweetheart, you do." From that moment, there was no more doubt. But as he held her, his gaze shifted to the security monitor mounted on the wall. A black SUV had parked across the street 2 minutes ago. It hadn't moved. And in the front seat, someone was watching. The black SUV didn't leave. It sat like a specter across from the building, its engine off, its windows tinted too dark to see through. William stood at the window, arm around Anna's shoulder as she colored quietly on the floor. He didn't want to alarm her, not yet, but the chill in his gut wouldn't leave. He'd seen surveillance before. He'd used surveillance before. This wasn't casual. Someone had found them. The question was who, and how much they knew. Patrick arrived 20 minutes later. William had only said 2 words on the encrypted line: "Come armed." Now, the head of his security stood behind him, eyes narrowed as he scanned the SUV below. "It's been there 40 minutes, William murmured. Patrick nodded. "No license plate. No movement. Looks like a blind stakeout. We scanned the signal field. Someone inside is pinging local towers. Probably running scrapers or packet sniffers. In English. They're looking for data, probably yours." William exhaled through his nose. "They're getting bold." Patrick gave a slow nod. "You want me to handle it?" William looked down at Anna, then back at Patrick. "Not yet. I want to know who sent them, and why now." "She's the trigger," Patrick said plainly. That homeless man wasn't acting alone. William turned sharply. "You think they were using him?" Patrick shrugged. "He draws less attention. No one questions the ranting of a street guy. But someone pulled him back into the shadows after Anna left. Someone who had a car waiting." William's mind raced. The photo, the man behind Clara, the letter warning about someone from Philadelphia. The timeline matched too well. "You think it goes back to the protest?" he asked. Patrick nodded. "It's a loose theory, but yes." Clara had been vocal. Too vocal. She knew something, or saw something, then she disappears, and now, 6 years later, her daughter reappears and you, of all people, bring her into the open? "They didn't expect that," William muttered. "Number they didn't." Anna looked up from the floor. Is something wrong? Both men turned. William forced a smile. No, sweetheart, just boring grown-up stuff. She tilted her head. The kind of stuff that makes people whisper a lot? Patrick chuckled. William bent down. I promise I'll explain more later, but for now, I want you to do something important. She nodded, suddenly serious. I need you to stay inside. No answering the door. No going downstairs. If you need anything, call me, okay? Okay. He kissed the top of her head. You're doing great. Later that evening, Patrick returned with a folder. He laid it on William's desk, flipping it open to reveal surveillance stills, timestamps, and a blurry image of the man from the Pittsburgh photo. He's been active, Patrick said. Turns out he's connected to a defunct private security firm, one that used to work contracts during protests. Riot suppression, surveillance, intimidation jobs. The firm was disbanded, but some of the operatives went underground. He's one of them. Name? No real one, just an alias, Collar. But he's not the kind of guy who acts alone. He takes orders. And whoever's giving them, they want the girl watched. William stared at the photo. They think she knows something, he said quietly. Or maybe they think Clara told her something before she died. She's 6, Will. She's Clara's daughter. That's enough. Patrick hesitated, then added, we also found something else. One of Clara's old neighbors from Pittsburgh remembered her being afraid of hospitals. Said she refused treatment even when Anna had a high fever. Paranoia. Said she didn't trust the system. William ran a hand through his hair. She was running for longer than I thought. You think she knew you were looking for her? I don't know. Maybe she didn't believe I wanted to find her. He sank into the chair. For all his wealth, all his reach, he hadn't protected her. And now their daughter was in the center of something neither of them had asked for. Start scanning communications, he said. Bank transfers, political donations, any patterns tied to Collar. I want to know who's bankrolling him. Patrick nodded. And Anna? I'll tell her more tomorrow. But for now, double security. I want guards at every floor. Cameras reviewed hourly. No one comes within 10 feet of this building without us knowing their blood type. Patrick smirked. Got it. That night, William couldn't sleep. He stood outside Anna's room, watching her through the partially open door. She was fast asleep, curled against Beans, the locket still around her neck. In the dim light, she looked like Clara, especially around the mouth. A little pout when she dreamed. He couldn't let them touch her. She had no idea what kind of forces were beginning to circle. Back in his study, he pulled out the last letter in Clara's handwriting, the only one he hadn't read. It wasn't dated. It simply said, if you found Anna, then everything else is secondary. I'm sorry I didn't stay. I'm sorry I let fear win. But she's stronger than I ever was. Don't just protect her, believe her. That final line rattled him. Believe her. Believe what? Was Clara warning him about something Anna might say or something someone might do to silence her? The camera monitor blinked again. The SUV was gone. But William knew better than to believe the threat had disappeared. No. It had only gone quiet. And quiet was the most dangerous sound of all. The morning light spilled gently into the penthouse, filtered through sheer curtains that fluttered with the whisper of wind from the heating vents. It should have been a peaceful day, should have started with cereal and cartoons and quiet conversations over coffee. But there was no peace in William's chest. Not anymore. Anna sat at the kitchen island, spooning oatmeal slowly while Beans lay beside her, dressed in a napkin and held upright in a juice cup like a royal guest. Do you think ghosts are real? She asked suddenly, her voice soft and too steady for a child. William looked up from the stove. Why do you ask? Because last night, she said. I had a dream. Mom was there. She looked scared. She kept saying the word folder. She told me not to lose the folder. William stiffened. He walked over and knelt beside her. What folder? Anna frowned. I don't know. But in the dream, it was under the floor. And she said, he knows where it is, but he'll pretend he doesn't. He didn't speak for a moment. The words lingered between them like smoke. The chill he'd felt the night before returned with sharper edges. Did she say anything else? Anna nodded. She said, "Tell him not to trust the nice man with the glasses." William exhaled slowly. That wasn't just a child's dream. It was a memory distorted, fragmented, maybe even imagined, but it had fingerprints of truth all over it. He stood. "Come with me." She followed him down the hallway to the guest room, Clara's old room, back when she'd first moved in for a few months all those years ago. William hadn't touched it since. The walls were still pale yellow. The same dresser, the same bookshelf full of Clara's old novels. Their spines bent from love. William opened the closet and crouched, feeling along the baseboard. Nothing. He tapped along the wooden floor. Hollow. His heart quickened. "Anna," he said, "can you get me a butter knife?" She ran off and returned moments later. He slipped the blade into the seam of the third floorboard and lifted. Beneath it was a shallow space wrapped in dust and darkness, and inside it, a manila folder. Anna gasped. "It's real." He pulled it out carefully. The paper was old, the edges curled. Inside were photographs, documents, notes Clara's handwriting, newspaper clippings, security badge copies, a map of a building in Philadelphia. Circled names. A hand-scrawled list of men tied to a security contractor, Larkin Global. One name was underlined 3 times. C. Collar. William stood, staring at the papers in disbelief. Clara had been gathering evidence. "Daddy," Anna whispered. It was the first time she called him that naturally. He looked down at her. "I think that's the man who yelled at Mom once," she said, pointing to a blurry photo of Collar taken from across a street. "We were in a store, and she pulled me out really fast." William felt his hands trembling. This wasn't just fear anymore. This was fury. Clara had been hunted. She'd known. She tried to protect Anna even as the walls closed in, and now the man who'd once threatened her was watching her daughter. He called Patrick immediately. "I have the folder," he said. Clara's real one. Evidence. Names. Documents. Photos. Patrick's voice didn't rise, but the tension was immediate. Where was it? Under the floor in her old room. Anyone else know? Not unless they were inside this place before. Patrick paused. "You need to leave the penthouse." William blinked. "What?" "They're escalating." That SUV was a test, a pressure move. Now you have something they want. That puts Anna in immediate danger. William looked down at his daughter, still kneeling beside the empty floorboard. "Where do we go?" "I have a secondary safe house in Hudson Valley. Private security, back road access. They won't know you're there. We leave within the hour." They packed fast Anna's drawings, beans, a change of clothes. William slipped the folder into a secure black case and locked it. When they stepped into the garage, a different car waited, a nondescript black Range Rover with tinted windows and reinforced body panels. Patrick drove. The drive north was quiet, the city slowly vanishing behind them as gray buildings gave way to snow-covered fields. Anna watched the world blur by, her face pressed against the window. "Will Mom be proud of us?" she asked softly. William glanced back at her. "She already is." The safe house was a modern structure built into the side of a forested hill. Inside, it was warm and minimal. No personal effects, just strong locks, clean lines, reinforced walls, and a stocked kitchen. It smelled faintly of cedar and electricity. That night, William sat by the fire, the folder open in front of him. Anna lay on the couch, sound asleep, her head resting on a thick pillow, beans tucked safely under her arm. Patrick returned from his perimeter check, his boots leaving faint marks on the hardwood. "I scanned the docs," he said. "Half of them are verifiable. The rest will need cross-referencing, but this is enough to scare someone." William tapped Collar's name. "Then let's scare him back." Patrick hesitated. "Will, you're not just a tech mogul anymore. This isn't a market you can manipulate. These men play dirty, quiet, and they leave no footprints. Neither do I." Patrick raised an eyebrow. "You willing to burn it all?" William looked at Anna. "Yes." Patrick nodded once. "Then we do it right. We don't just react. We make them regret ever laying eyes on Clara." They shook hands, but just as Patrick turned, William caught something on the monitor, a flash of light in the trees. A single blink. Then another. Morse code. Patrick leaned in. What the hell? William translated silently. She wasn't the only one. Another flash. They're watching you now. And then darkness. The trees went still. No wind. No movement. Just the sound of snow falling on the roof and the soft breath of a sleeping child. And William Grant, sitting at the edge of the world, about to fight for more than just truth. He was about to fight for justice. The morning after the Morse code message, the forest was unnervingly still. William rose before dawn, stepping into the snow with boots crunching softly underfoot, his breath curling in the air like fading smoke. Patrick was already outside, eyes scanning the tree line with binoculars. Nothing since the signal, Patrick said, handing them to William. William scanned the area where the light had come from. Someone knew how to reach us. That wasn't an amateur, Patrick grunted. We checked the trees. No gear, no tripods, no prints. If someone was out there, they covered their tracks well. William's grip tightened on the binoculars. Then we're not dealing with a stalker. We're dealing with an operative. He turned and looked back at the house. Through the frosted windows, he could see Anna at the breakfast table, cutting a banana into perfect circles. The image filled him with a surge of protectiveness so sharp it made his chest ache. We don't wait, he said. We move. Patrick raised an eyebrow. To where? We hit them first. Clara didn't collect that folder for it to rot in a drawer. If someone else out there is trying to help us, they need to know we're not running scared. Back inside, William reviewed Clara's files again, searching for anything: names, locations, photos. One document stood out this time. A transcript of a recorded conversation between two unnamed men. They spoke in code but referenced a meeting location. Iron Depot, Track 7, Friday midnight. That depot was in Philadelphia, near the same block where Clara had been hiding. The document was dated 7 years ago. What if it's still in use? William said aloud. Patrick leaned in. You want to go there? I want to see who shows up at midnight. If Clara risked her life for this, I'm going to finish it. Patrick nodded. I'll prep the car. Bulletproof. Later that night, after dinner and stories and a promise to come back before sunrise, William knelt beside Anna's bed. She was sleepy, her eyes fighting to stay open, but her fingers held tight to his sleeve. Are you going to see the people Mom was scared of? She asked. He swallowed. I'm going to find out what they wanted. And why? Will they hurt you? No, he said softly. Because I've got you waiting for me. She smiled, then whispered, Take Beans. He's brave. William laughed quietly, taking the stuffed bear and tucking it into his coat pocket. I'll bring him home in one piece. As he and Patrick drove toward Philadelphia under cover of darkness, snow began to fall again, cloaking the world in soft white silence. The Iron Depot loomed ahead, its steel skeleton rising from the earth like an abandoned colossus. The yard was dead, no trains, no workers, only rusting containers and flickering floodlights. Track 7 was in the far corner, hidden behind a row of storage crates. They waited. Midnight struck. For 5 minutes, nothing moved. Then headlights blinked through the trees. A matte gray sedan rolled silently into the yard and parked beside the track. 2 men got out tall, dressed in long coats. One of them held a briefcase. The other scanned the area with a military precision William instantly recognized. This isn't just surveillance, he whispered. It's a drop. They watched through a thermal scope. A third man approached from the shadows, stepping out from behind a cargo container. His heat signature glowed faintly but enough to see the limp in his walk. Patrick muttered, That's Collar. William's heart thudded. So Clara had seen him. This was his operation. The 3 men exchanged quick words. Then the briefcase changed hands. Collar opened it, inspected the contents, nodded, then passed over a small flash drive. The man receiving it put it into his coat and walked back toward the car. William took a breath. We follow the car. No confrontation. Patrick started the engine, but before they could pull away, a 4th figure stepped from the shadows behind Track 8. Female, hooded, holding something metallic at her side. William squinted through the scope. The woman threw something smoke grenade. Chows erupted. The sedan's doors burst open. Collar shouted. One of the men raised a weapon. but the smoke spread too fast. Muzzle flashes lit the fog. Someone screamed. A figure dropped to the ground. William slammed open the door. "I'm going in," he yelled. Patrick cursed. "God damn it, wait." But William was already sprinting toward the chaos. He ducked behind a storage crate, weapon drawn. The air was thick with the acrid scent of burned phosphorus. A silhouette ran past him, collar, limping, bleeding from the shoulder, but alive. William chased. They moved between crates, down into a hollow, half-collapsed shipping bay. Collar stumbled, tried to climb a ladder, but William caught him at the base and shoved him against the steel wall. "You knew Clara," he growled. Collar spat blood. She should have kept her mouth shut. William's fist struck his jaw. "You killed her," he said, quieter now, darker. "No," Collar coughed. "We never touched her. But she had something we wanted. She made sure we couldn't find it." "The folder." Collar laughed hoarsely. "Not just that. She made a copy, said she gave it to someone." "Who?" Collar shook his head. "You'll never find them." William's phone buzzed. Patrick's voice. "Urgent. 2 down." Third one fled. "But the woman, she left something. It's a drive. Says, if you're reading this, trust no one in the system." William looked down at Collar, barely conscious now. "Who do you work for?" "Too late," Collar gasped. "You're already on their list." Has slumped unconscious. William backed away, breath ragged. By the time he and Patrick returned to the safe house just after dawn, Anna was awake, waiting on the couch, still in pajamas, beans clutched to her chest. "You're okay," she whispered, running to him. He picked her up, held her close. "I promised, didn't I?" She buried her face in his neck, and William knew this wasn't the end. It was only the beginning. The flash drive left behind by the hooded woman sat on William's desk like a loaded weapon. It was black, unmarked, and faintly warm to the touch, as if it had recently been pulled from a machine still burning with secrets. Patrick stood beside him, arms crossed, tension radiating off him like static. "You think it's a trap?" William asked. Patrick nodded slowly. "Almost everything is, these days, but it's bait we have to take." William inserted the drive into a secure laptop, one that hadn't been connected to the internet in over 3 years. Firewalls, encryption barriers, and anonymous network scramblers sprang to life around the system. They waited. The screen blinked. A single folder appeared. "Watch before acting." William clicked. A video file opened. The image flickered to life. A woman, seated in a dim room, hooded. She didn't show her face, but her voice was clear, low, firm, American accent. No hesitation. "If you're seeing this, then Collar failed or you got too close. Either way, time's short. And you need to understand what Clara was running from." The woman leaned forward. Behind her, a corkboard full of files and photos blurred just out of focus. Larkin Global wasn't just a contractor. It was an intelligence laundering operation. They weren't hired to protect protest zones. They were hired to suppress information, to destabilize movements. Clara found proof contracts, emails, voice recordings. She tried to go public. That's when they came for her. William's breath caught. "She trusted me with a copy of the archive. I've kept it hidden. Until now." The screen cut to black. Then text began to scroll, lines of names, locations, dates, and file paths. Some were familiar from Clara's folder. Others were new. Among them, one made William freeze. Senator Harold Keene. "Keene?" Patrick muttered. "The oversight chair for national security." "Clara always said justice doesn't care about status," William whispered. "But the system does. That's why she ran." Another line appeared beneath the senator's name. "New appointment, Joint Special Task Division, the 14th of June, 2018. That was the summer Clara disappeared. William leaned back, the weight of realization crashing down on him like stone. Clara hadn't just been scared. She'd been targeted by a group embedded so deeply in the political and security infrastructure that exposing them would require more than evidence. It would require strategy, precision, timing, and now it was his turn. "I want a meeting with Keene," William said. Patrick raised an eyebrow. "You think he'll take it? He's in the pocket of donors. And I still control one of the largest tech firms in the US. He'll take the meeting. Then what? We make it look like a negotiation, an olive branch. I ask about cybersecurity, political partnerships keep it surface level. But we watch him. See how he reacts. If he flinches, we know he's scared. Patrick nodded. We'll need surveillance teams. Full sweep of the meeting room, backup units nearby. I want 2 exit plans. Done. William turned toward the living room, where Anna sat cross-legged with headphones on, watching a documentary about space on his tablet. Her face lit up every time the planets swirled across the screen. She was safe, for now. But not forever. He sat beside her. She pulled off the headphones and smiled. Did the flash drive help? He hesitated, then nodded. Yes, it told us more about the people who wanted to hurt your mom. Her expression changed sad, but curious. Why would someone want to hurt her? Because she told the truth. And sometimes people who lie are afraid of the truth. Anna was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, Mom told me the truth. Makes your voice heavier, but your heart lighter. William smiled. She was right. He hesitated. Anna, do you remember a woman who used to come by when you and your mom were hiding? Maybe gave you toys or read to you? Anna frowned. There was someone. She had glasses and a soft voice. She always wore a scarf, even in summer. William blinked. That didn't match the woman in the video, but it might have been someone else Clara trusted. Another link. Do you remember her name? Anna shook her head. She said it was better if I didn't. William reached over and gently took her hand. You're doing amazing. You've already helped more than you know. That night, Patrick pulled him aside. We got a hit on the vehicle from the depot. The sedan was traced to a burner rental company outside Trenton. No ID. But traffic cams caught the man who picked it up. Facial match confirmed. His name's Blake Farron, former military intel. Contracted with Larkin from 2013 to 2017. And now? Freelancer. Which makes him dangerous and expendable. He's not working alone. This goes higher. Well, William rubbed his temples. Keep digging. I want everything on Farron. Who he calls. Who he avoids. Where he sleeps. Patrick hesitated. You sure you want to keep Anna here? If they're escalating, no. William said firmly. She stays with me. I couldn't protect Clara. I'm not making that mistake twice. He turned back toward the window. Outside, snow was falling again. But inside, the war was heating up. He wasn't a CEO anymore. He was a father and a man with evidence that could shatter lives. Let them come. This time, he was ready. 3 days after discovering Clara's secret archive, William Grant sat in the private lounge of the Hamilton Club in Washington, D.C., nursing a cup of black coffee he had no intention of drinking. The room smelled of cedar, leather, and quiet power. High-backed chairs lined the walls, and heavy velvet curtains muffled the city noise. His appointment was set for 10 a.m. sharp. Senator Harold Keene was never late. Patrick sat at the adjacent table pretending to read the Wall Street Journal, a concealed earpiece hidden behind a salt and pepper wig. Surveillance feeds from their team streamed silently into a tablet in William's briefcase. Everything was wired. Keene's vehicle, the lobby, even the hallway outside the bathroom. If Keene so much as scratched his nose in Morse code, they'd catch it. At the S. Those, Keene interred. He was taller than William remembered, leaner, with a politician's practiced smile and the easy charm of someone used to being the most important man in the room. He wore a navy blue suit, a muted red tie, and a gold American flag pin that gleamed against the lapel like a badge of absolution. Mr. Grant, Keene said, extending his hand. Been a long time. Senator, William replied, shaking it. Thank you for making time. They sat. Keene signaled the waiter for tea. William didn't miss the subtle glance toward Patrick. He clocked him but didn't acknowledge him. The senator wasn't stupid. He knew this wasn't just a friendly chat. I hear you've been keeping a low profile, Keene said lightly. I've had personal matters to tend to. Ah, yes, I heard about your recent addition. William met his gaze evenly. Children have a way of reminding us what really matters. Keen smiled, but there was something brittle at the edges. That they do. Oh, William leaned forward. I'll be direct, Senator. I'm re-evaluating the security architecture of several platforms we provide to the government. With all due respect to your position, I have concerns about oversight and how deep contractor ties run. Keen sipped his tea. Are you implying something? I'm implying that recent events, cyber breaches, disappearing whistleblowers, political blackmail don't happen in a vacuum, and I'm no longer convinced that the people meant to be monitoring these things aren't themselves compromised. Keen set his cup down slowly. That's a dangerous accusation. It's not an accusation, it's a question. William let the silence stretch before adding, and I always follow the answers. For a brief moment, Keen's mask slipped. His eyes narrowed almost imperceptibly, but enough to confirm William's suspicion. Keen wasn't just aware of the rot beneath the surface. He was part of it. Be careful where you point your flashlight, Keen said quietly. Sometimes the shadows bite back. William didn't blink. Then I'll bring a bigger light. Keen stood. I think we're done here. As he walked away, Patrick rose, folding his newspaper. William exhaled slowly and tapped his earpiece. Did we get it? Every word, Patrick confirmed, including the part where he warned you like a cartoon villain. Back at the safe house that evening, William felt the weight of exhaustion settle across his shoulders. Anna greeted him at the door with two drawings in hand, one of a bear flying through space and one of William holding a sword made of light, standing on a hill. I made you strong, she said proudly, so no one can hurt you. He knelt down, hugging her. You already made me strong. She looked up at him. Did you find the man who scared Mom? Not yet, he said honestly, but I'm getting closer. Later, after Anna went to bed, William and Patrick reviewed the surveillance footage from the Hamilton Club. One frame caught their attention, Keen receiving a text just before entering the lounge. The screen flashed briefly. Meeting confirmed. Step 3 initiated. Patrick frowned. Step 3 of what? Let's find out. He tapped into the phone tower metadata from the club. Keen's phone had received the message from a private relay server registered in Switzerland. That server bounced from 3 locations in Europe before originating from a government block in Langley. Langley? William said, staring at the trace route. Patrick nodded. CIA. Or someone pretending to be. Clara's fears were justified. She wasn't running from just a rogue contractor. This has agency fingerprints. Patrick turned to him. You think they're watching us now? I know they are. That night, William slept in a chair outside Anna's room, a loaded Glock under his coat and a tablet in his hand displaying every camera feed from inside and outside the property. At 2:14 a.m., a motion sensor tripped. Camera 5 south fence. A single figure, male, wearing black. No weapon visible. William bolted upright and tapped Patrick's line. We have a visitor. Patrick appeared in under 60 seconds, already pulling a vest over his shoulders. They descended in silence, exiting the house through the side door and moving through the snow-laden shadows with practiced precision. They spotted the man 20 yards from the fence, crouched, placing something into the soil. William raised his voice. Stand up, now. The figure froze. Patrick approached from the flank, weapon drawn, hands where I can see them. The man stood slowly. He was older than expected, late 50s, with sharp gray eyes and a face that looked both weathered and alert. I'm not here to hurt anyone, the man said calmly. I was leaving something behind. Patrick yanked the object from the dirt. It was a sealed envelope. No name, just a symbol on the front, a bear holding a key. William's heart skipped. That's Clara's symbol, he said, stunned. The man looked at him. She said, if anything ever happened to her, I should find the bear. I didn't know it would be you. Who are you? William asked. My name's Elias Dunn. I worked with Clara. She saved my life once. I owed her everything. Patrick stepped closer. And what's in the envelope? Answers, Elias said, and a map. He turned to William. You're on the right path. But if you keep walking it alone, they'll bury you before you get to the truth. William stared at him. Then walk with me. Elias nodded once. And just like that, the war grew larger. The shadows were getting closer. But now, William wasn't in the dark anymore. The envelope was heavier than expected. sealed with wax pressed into the image of a bear holding a key, Clara's childhood sketch. William stared at it for a long time before finally peeling it open, Elias Dunn watching him silently from across the kitchen table. Inside were 3 items: a folded map, a thumb drive, and a handwritten note on yellowed paper. Patrick leaned over, eyes sharp. "Let me see the map." William unfolded it. The paper crackled. It was old, a detailed layout of a compound on the outskirts of Charlottesville, Virginia. The title in faded ink read, Larkin Global Emergency Response Facility. Site 6. Several rooms were marked with X's. One had a star next to it, and the words, Black Vault, Audio Logs. Elias nodded slowly. That's where they kept the raw intel. Recordings from missions, including the ones that went wrong, the stuff they didn't want reviewed by oversight committees. William turned to him. "How do you know this still exists?" "Because I helped build it," Elias said. "Before I knew what Larkin really was. Before Clara made me see it." Patrick raised an eyebrow. "You designed the facility?" "I installed their internal architecture comms, entry protocols, surveillance triggers. I also installed a back door. Clara knew about it, but never used it. She always said she was waiting for the right time, or the right person." William looked at the map again. "So, why now?" Elias leaned forward. "Because the minute Keene walked into that room with you, this became a countdown. They know you're close. If you're going to hit them, it has to be now before they sanitize the evidence." William's jaw tightened. "We'll go." "No," Elias said firmly. "I'll go. You're too high profile. They see you. They shut it all down before you get through the door. I'm not letting you walk in there alone. You won't. Patrick can come. I'll walk you through the system. But if we do this, we have one shot. After tonight, they'll move everything." William nodded once. "Then we do it tonight." Anna was asleep when he went to check on her. The bare beans lay beside her, one arm stretched out as if mid-wave. Her breathing was steady, innocent, unburdened by the weight that filled every other room in the house. He sat on the edge of her bed, whispering, "I'll be back by morning. You won't know I left." As he stood to leave, her voice sleepy, soft floated behind him. "Be careful, Daddy." He turned, startled. She hadn't opened her eyes. But somehow, she knew. The road to Charlottesville was long and winding, flanked by frozen trees and distant hills. Elias sat in the back seat, pointing out landmarks as they approached the facility. "The outer fence is pressure, sensitive. That's why we don't walk through the front. About half a mile west, there's a creek bed. Frozen now, but it leads to a maintenance tunnel that connects to the lower sublevel. Let me guess," Patrick muttered, steering off-road toward the coordinates. "You installed that tunnel." Elias grinned faintly. "They paid for redundancy. I gave them vulnerability." William checked his watch. 2:44 a.m. Inside the compound, somewhere, evidence waited. Not just documents or digital trails, but audio, Clara's voice, perhaps. Or worse, proof that she was silenced, not lost. The tunnel entrance was concealed under a rusted grate and a half-collapsed pine. The cold bit at their faces as they climbed down into the dark. Patrick led the way with a headlamp, Elias guiding him past tripwires and pressure pads. William brought up the rear, heart pounding in rhythm with every step. Inside the sublevel, the air was stale, metallic. The halls were dim, motion sensors disabled by Elias's backdoor code. The vault room was near the center of the compound, behind a biometric door one Elias bypassed by hardwiring a loop from an old fingerprint cache. They slipped inside. Rows of black servers hummed softly in the dark. In the far corner sat a console labeled Logs, Audio, Review, Tire 5, Only. Patrick moved to plug in a portable drive, but Elias stopped him. "No copying," he said. "They have pulse sensors for data transfer. If you try to pull anything, it trips an internal beacon." William frowned. "Then how do we take the evidence?" "We stream it to an offline mirror I've prepped, but we listen first. If there's anything that can put a nail in their coffin, it'll be there." Elias typed quickly, bypassing protocols. The screen flashed, then displayed a list of file names, hundreds of them. sorted by date and location. William spotted a name. Operation Silencer. PHL 17. Subject: Clara Monroe. He clicked. Static. Then voices. Target has been moved to temporary shelter. Civilian child present. No engagement ordered unless intel compromised. A pause. She's getting nervous. Said she mailed something. But she's bluffing. She has no way to move that kind of data. Another pause. A third voice. Colder. Make sure she stops looking. Use local pressure if needed. The file ended. William stared at the screen, fists clenched. She wasn't paranoid, he said. Elias pulled up another file. Subject: Audio Operation Red Veil. It began with Clara's voice. If you're hearing this, something happened to me. I don't know who will find this, maybe William, maybe Anna. But they need to know the truth. Patrick leaned in. Clara's voice continued, steady but scared. Larkin was paid to incite violence at the protests. To plant agitators, escalate confrontations. They wanted chaos, so politicians could justify new surveillance powers. I saw the contracts. I heard the orders. I recorded everything. She paused, a shaky breath. They told me if I talked, Anna would disappear. That they'd make it look like I never existed. That's when I ran. The file ended. William couldn't breathe. She had known. She had fought, and she had left this behind not just for him, but for the world. Patrick shut the terminal. That's enough. Let's move. They retraced their steps, quiet, careful. But as they emerged from the tunnel, headlights exploded from the tree line. Down, Elias barked. Gunshots echoed across the forest. Patrick shoved William to the ground. Go, go. Elias fired twice into the dark, then ran behind them. They scrambled into the vehicle. Patrick peeled off. Tires screaming over ice. Bullets slammed into the rear frame. Sparks flew, but they didn't stop, didn't slow. William clutched the drive in his coat pocket. He had Clara's voice, and he had everything he needed to bring down the men who tried to erase her. He looked out the window as the compound vanished behind them. Let them come now. He wasn't hiding anymore. By the time the sun cracked the edge of the horizon, casting soft amber light across the snow-covered hills, William, Patrick, and Elias had already driven 2 counties north. They stopped at an isolated farmhouse. One of Patrick's old contacts owed him a favor and pulled into the barn behind it, where the vehicle could rest, riddled with bullet holes but still functional. Inside, William dropped the small drive on the wooden table with a heavy thud. It felt like placing a key to a kingdom or a bomb on a detonator. This changes everything, Elias muttered, pacing. No, William replied, jaw clenched. This confirms everything. Now we make them answer for it. Patrick nodded. We go public. Elias looked skeptical. That's not so simple. These people control the narrative. They can erase your voice before it reaches anyone. William shook his head. Not if we take the voice straight to the people. Patrick leaned in. You thinking what I'm thinking? The live stream, William said. My old platform Argus. We built it with off-grid redundancy, distributed nodes. It was meant to withstand cyber attacks from foreign governments. And I still own a backdoor key. Patrick whistled. You could push the message out unfiltered to millions. More than millions, William said. We tag journalists, watchdogs, activist groups. Every tech forum and social platform, if even one person records it, it spreads like wildfire. They can't kill the truth once it's in the bloodstream. But they'll try to kill you, Elias warned. And probably your daughter too. William's eyes darkened. Then we hit hard and fast. No warning. He opened his laptop, connected the drive, and began decrypting the files. Clara's voice emerged again, this time reading names, dates, transactions, a litany of corruption. It was damning. Not just one rogue contractor, but an ecosystem of greed senators, defense executives, private security firms. The voice of a woman the world thought had disappeared, now cut through layers of silence like a blade. I want this to be her story, William said. She never got to finish it. I will. They worked through the day and into the night, assembling the broadcast. William wrote a statement, recorded it, rewrote it. It had to be powerful, but honest. Passionate, but calm. This wasn't about vengeance. It was about truth. Finally, just after 2 a.m., the stream was ready. Patrick gave him a look. "You sure about this?" William looked over at Anna, curled on the couch under a thick quilt, clutching beans in her arms. He stared at her for a long moment, then turned back to the screen. "I've never been more sure of anything." He pressed broadcast. The Argus server blinked alive. The encrypted stream launched across dark web nodes and masked entry points. It pinged inboxes of preloaded journalists, dropped links into private watchdog chats, and forced a brief 3-minute takeover of Argus's entire homepage. William appeared on-screen calm, composed, eyes shadowed but steady. "If you're watching this, I ask one thing. Listen. Not for me, but for a woman named Clara Monroe. She was a mother, a whistleblower, and she died trying to tell the truth." He paused. Larkin Global, in coordination with elected officials and private intelligence networks, created operations designed to provoke violence, destabilize democratic protest, and expand surveillance powers for profit. Clara found evidence, and she died because of it. Tonight, I share that evidence. I do this, knowing the danger it invites. But if we remain silent, we are complicit. Then Clara's voice took over, narrating her findings. It wasn't flashy. It wasn't dramatic. But it was real. It was raw. And it was powerful. Within minutes, the chat logs on the site exploded. "Is this real? Clara Monroe. Wasn't she declared missing? That senator's name is in the file. Someone archive this now. Mainstream news isn't covering it yet. Record and repost." Then, the bot attacks began. Anonymous profiles flooded the stream with spam, bots calling it fake, doctored, illegal. Argus servers began flickering. But the backups held. William had prepared for this. Patrick grinned as alerts popped up. It's spreading, already mirrored on 10 major platforms. But then Elias's phone rang. He answered, listened silently, then hung up. His face was grim. "That was my old friend at Cyber Intelligence Watch. They just got a leaked memo. Official response is coming in 2 waves. First, a public denial and smear campaign. Second, a team is being dispatched." "Here?" Patrick asked. "No," Elias said, "to the safe house, where Anna is." William went cold. "They think I'm there," he said, standing. "Good. Let them think that." Patrick blinked. "You want them to hit an empty house? I want them to show their hand. And while they're playing catch-up, we finish this." William sent a ping to his team's counter-surveillance group, then called a secure contact in the Justice Department, a former friend of Clara's. He didn't trust many people, but Leona Torres had once staked her career on exposing corruption in defense contracts. If anyone would act on evidence, it was her. "Leona," William said when she answered, "I just sent you something. Full files, audio logs. You're the first person in government I've given this to." She was silent for a long beat. "Is this what I think it is?" "Yes. And it might get me killed. But if it does, you don't let this disappear." She exhaled. "God damn it, Will. You picked a hell of a way to come back. Clara deserved nothing less." Then he hung up. By morning, William's face was on every major news outlet. Some labeled him a rogue CEO. Others called him a whistleblower hero. The footage of Clara's voice, raw and undeniable, flooded the internet faster than any takedown could contain it. And then, the retaliation began. The Justice Department issued a statement claiming the evidence was under review, but 2 senators named in the files denied everything and accused William of fabricating the story to deflect from a child custody scandal. The smear was sloppy but dangerous. Even more troubling, William received a message via burner phone. "We warned you. Now she pays." Attached was a still frame, Anna, taken from a street camera. Not recent, maybe days old, but enough to send William's blood cold. Patrick read it over his shoulder. "They're scared." "No," William said, eyes burning. "They're desperate." He stood. "It's time to make them regret ever touching my family." The farmhouse had grown tense. the air thicker than the wood smoke rising from the ancient chimney. Anna sat at the kitchen table drawing quietly, unaware of the storm that had fully broken around her. Her curls bobbed as she hummed to herself, coloring in the sun with yellow crayon strokes that betrayed none of the chaos clawing at the edges of her world. William watched her from the doorway, fists clenched at his sides. "Do we move her again?" Patrick asked from behind. "No," William replied without turning. "They already had a camera on her days ago. They're not chasing her. They're watching me, and now they think I'm predictable." Patrick crossed his arms. "Then we make them wrong." William finally turned. "We use me. I'm the last thread they haven't cut. They've tried wiping Clara's name. They've tried turning this into a circus, but they haven't touched me directly yet. That means they're not ready for the fallout." "Not yet." Elias stepped into the room holding a fresh burner phone. "I just got word from Leona. There's a grand jury request in motion, but it's being stalled. One of the senators named in the files, Keene, filed a motion for an emergency injunction to suppress all testimony linked to Clara Monroe." William laughed bitterly. "He's digging his own grave. That motion confirms he's scared." Desperate men don't dig graves," Elias said. "They throw others into them." William nodded slowly, his thoughts shifting. "Then let's give them what they want. One target. One high-profile, public appearance. We make them think they have an opening." Patrick narrowed his eyes. "You want to walk into the lion's mouth?" "I want them to pounce," William replied. "And when they do, we record everything. It'll be the final nail." Elias leaned forward. "Where?" William glanced at the television screen, where talking heads debated his motives. One channel flashed a breaking news banner. "William Grant, to speak at Liberty Tech Expo, first appearance since broadcast." "There," William said. "We go there. We leak it ourselves. Make sure it's believable." Patrick blinked. "You want to bait them at a tech convention?" "Exactly. High visibility. Media coverage. Crowds. They can't use lethal force in public without sparking a war, but they might try to detain me, blackbag me, or worse, smear me on the spot. Whatever happens, we'll be ready." 2 days later, Liberty Tech Expo buzzed like a hive of anxious bees. The world's tech elite, investors, and press all converged under the cavernous glass dome of the Atlantic Conference Center in Baltimore. Security was heightened, facial scanners at every entrance, drones hovering discreetly over the parking lots. The schedule had been updated only hours earlier. Special guest. William Grant keynote. Truth in the age of algorithms. Patrick stood in the security pit, badge forged, earpiece active. Elias operated from a surveillance van 2 blocks away, patched into the building's grid. William wore a simple charcoal suit, no tie, no frills, just clarity. And the truth. As he walked onto the stage, flashes erupted from dozens of cameras. The audience leaned in. Whispers flew like sparks from match heads. He adjusted the mic, his voice steady. "I wasn't supposed to be here today. According to several powerful people, I was supposed to vanish. But I'm still here. And the truth is still alive." Cheers erupted. William held up a hand. "I'm not here to preach. I'm here to prove. What Clara Monroe exposed, what she died exposing, wasn't a conspiracy theory. It was a network of corruption built to manipulate democratic fear. And you've heard her voice, you've seen the files. But today, you'll see something else." He tapped a button on the podium. A massive screen behind him lit up, showing time-stamped footage from the Larkin facility, including the original files, signed contracts, and the audio of Clara naming names. In the shadows near the exit, 2 men in dark suits shifted positions. Patrick's voice buzzed in William's ear. 2 targets, west balcony. Scanning. They're armed. Elias chimed in. 3rd team approaching from service entrance. No badges. Likely extraction squad. William didn't flinch. "I've submitted this evidence to multiple agencies," he continued. "To the press, to watchdog groups, to the courts. And if I disappear tonight, it won't disappear with me. That's a promise." One of the men on the balcony began to move. Patrick's voice. "They're coming." William stepped away from the podium. "What we're witnessing," he said, voice rising, "isn't just the exposure of a lie. It's the reclamation of truth. And truth doesn't need a weapon, it needs witnesses. That's you, suddenly, shouting from the back. Mr. Grant, please come with us. Two men in dark jackets stormed the aisle, flashing credentials no one could verify. William raised his hands. Under whose authority? One man barked, Department of Homeland Security. Patrick's voice again. Fake. They're not DHS. Let them get close. We've got the signal jammer ready. William took a slow breath. The crowd tensed. Then tell me, he said calmly into the mic, why DHS agents are carrying Larkin model suppression cuffs. Gasps from the audience. The men froze, realizing too late they'd been outplayed. William stepped back. Everyone, record this. This is how they silence whistleblowers. Not with truth. With fear. Hundreds of phones rose. Flashes, streams, evidence. Security from the venue swarmed in now, separating the fake agents from the stage. The crowd erupted in confusion and fury. Within minutes, William was escorted to a secure exit by trusted guards, meeting Patrick and Elias at the service corridor. They took the bait, Patrick said, grinning. The whole damn thing is on a dozen live streams already. Elias handed him a burner phone. Leona just called. The grand jury was fast-tracked. Your testimony's officially been summoned. You're protected federally. William nodded. So they can't touch me now. No, Elias said. But they will try. As they drove away from the chaos, William allowed himself a small, tired smile. Not because he was safe, but because Clara's voice had finally echoed where it mattered. And Anna, his daughter, could grow up in a world where truth still had a fighting chance. The wind howled down Constitution Avenue as black SUVs rolled silently toward the Justice Department headquarters. Inside, one of them sat William Grant, dressed in a subdued Navy suit, hands calm in his lap, but his mind churned like a storm. On either side of him, U.S. Marshals stared out the tinted windows, alert and wordless. The grand jury hearing was scheduled for 9:30 a.m., and the entire district was already abuzz of media vans and protesters holding handmade signs, some calling him a hero, others labeling him a traitor. The moment had arrived. Across the city, Patrick and Elias monitored the feed from a secure room in an underground garage. It was patched into courthouse security, live news coverage, and encrypted lines from whistleblower networks. You think he'll be safe inside? Elias asked, tension etched across his face. As safe as a man carrying political dynamite into a fire pit can be, Patrick replied. But William knew what he was walking into. Elias nodded grimly. They'll try to rattle him, maybe even flip the script. Patrick chuckled dryly. They can try, but that man's spine is titanium now. Inside the Justice Department, the hearing room buzzed with whispers as William entered. A semicircle of federal jurors sat at the head, flanked by attorneys, aides, and the assistant U.S. attorney, a sharp-eyed woman named Marcy Raines. Her reputation was fierce, unbribable, focused, and never one to bow to pressure. As William was sworn in, the weight of the moment settled in the air. Mr. Grant, Raines began. You understand the charges you are making against federal contractors and elected officials are extraordinary. William nodded. So were the crimes Clara Monroe exposed. Raines leaned forward. For the record, please describe the contents of the files you obtained. William began slowly, but clearly. He outlined Clara's recordings, the evidence from Site 6, and the connection to Larkin Global's operations. He spoke of the staged violence, the manipulation of public sentiment, and the billions funneled into private surveillance projects. He spoke of Clara's disappearance, of Anna, of the threats that still loomed. And this, he said, holding up the thumb drive, is just the beginning. There are more files, more voices. Clara was not the only one. The jurors leaned in. The silence was heavy with shock. Marcy Raines nodded. We've reviewed the files. We've confirmed voice matches. What you've brought is damning, Mr. Grant. But it also paints a target on your back. I've lived with that target since the day Clara disappeared, he replied. Are you willing to enter protective custody? She asked. William shook his head. Number, that would send the wrong message. I want to testify publicly when the time comes. One juror, an older black man in his 60s, finally spoke. Mr. Grant, may I ask, why now? Why take this risk when you could have stayed silent? William looked directly at him. Because silence didn't save Clara. And it won't protect Anna. But the truth might protect someone else's daughter. The room went still. Rains cleared her throat. Very well. We will proceed with a formal inquiry and begin indictments based on verified evidence. You've done your part, Mr. Grant. For now. Hours later, William emerged into a storm of microphones and reporters. Flashes erupted as questions flew from every direction. Mr. Grant, do you fear retaliation? Are the accusations against Senator Keene substantiated? Is it true your daughter is under federal protection? Do you believe Clara Monroe was murdered? William stepped up to the podium, speaking not to the cameras, but to the people beyond them. I'm not here to protect my reputation. I'm here because the woman I loved was silenced for speaking truth, because my daughter deserves a world that values justice. And because the corruption we uncovered is a threat to every citizen in this country. So no, I'm not afraid. I'm angry. And I'm ready. Then he stepped away. That evening, in a quiet hotel room outside the Capitol, William rejoined Anna. She ran into his arms as soon as the door opened, launching herself into a hug so tight it stole his breath. I missed you, she whispered. I missed you too, sweetheart, he said, holding her longer than usual. Elias sat nearby, watching the news coverage roll in. Patrick had a laptop open with live chat feeds pouring from every corner of the internet. Public opinion swinging, he reported. Hashtags trending. Investigative reporters are digging deeper. 3 more senators have been linked to the funding logs. Elias added. Keene's office just released a statement. He's stepping down from the oversight committee citing personal health concerns. William gave a humorless smile. 1 down, but then Patrick's screen lit up with an alert. His expression darkened. We've got movement, he muttered. A secure message was just intercepted between 2 Larkin affiliates. They're deploying assets. Where? William asked. Patrick stared at the screen. Not where. Who? You. William exhaled. They know I'm not hiding. No, Elias said, but this time, they're not coming with fake badges. This time it's personal. They're coming to erase you before the trial begins. Then we prepare, William said quietly. We bring them to us. On our terms. Patrick looked over. You mean here? In this hotel? No, William replied, a fire in his voice now. Somewhere more public. Somewhere they can't control. I want them to feel trapped, hunted. Like Clara did. We flipped the game. He walked to the window, staring out at the city glowing under dusk. I'll give them one more chance, he said. One last play, and when they take it, we'll expose everything they are. Elias leaned forward. How? William turned slowly. We bait them with the one thing they want most. Patrick frowned. What's that? William looked toward Anna, now asleep on the couch with beans tucked under her chin. Me. The plan was simple, but simplicity was its greatest deception. William would walk directly into the jaws of the machine on his own terms. He would do it in broad daylight, with the world watching, and he would dare them to strike. It was 9:43 a.m. when he stepped out of the black SUV, wearing a gray wool coat and a charcoal scarf, looking every bit the reformed tech mogul turned whistleblower. The press had been alerted. So had Larkin's eyes. They thought this would be the end. He was counting on it. The location was chosen with precision, a small civic auditorium in Northwest D.C., nestled between 2 federal buildings, and within line of sight of half a dozen surveillance cameras, many of them now quietly feeding into Patrick's encrypted system, rigged to stream in real time. The event was public. An open civic forum on government transparency, organized hastily under the banner of a non-profit that Elias had conjured up with forged credentials and a polished website built overnight. The event didn't need to be real, it only needed to be believable enough to bait the predators. As William walked through the glass doors of the venue, his eyes scanned the crowd. Not large, maybe 40 attendees, some legitimate journalists, some activists, and at least 5 faces he'd flagged from Elias's database. Off-the-books operatives with murky affiliations, Larkin's dogs. Perfect. Inside, Elias and Patrick monitored everything from the van parked 2 blocks away. Audio, visuals, thermal imaging, they were watching the watchers. 2 targets moving to the balcony, Patrick said. That's not press. Confirming concealed sidearms. 3rd moving near the fire exit, Elias added. Glove touch on the door. Probably prepping an extraction route. William took the stage. He adjusted the mic and smiled. Thank you all for coming. Today's about reclaiming a voice, not just mine, but everyone who's ever been silenced for telling the truth. His words were calm, measured. But beneath his breath, he whispered into the tiny throat mic sewn into his collar. They're in place. Prepare the loop. Back in the van, Elias launched the contingency protocol. At his command, the surveillance streams began recording in triplicate on-site, off-site, and on the cloud. The building's public Wi-Fi, rigged with silent tracers, began pinging every connected device. Digital fingerprints were being captured, tagged, and uploaded to whistleblower networks. You've all seen the evidence, William continued. But I've saved something Clara never had a chance to release. He held up a new drive, smaller than a thumb, barely the size of a grain of rice. It wasn't real, it was bait, but he held it like it was the Rosetta Stone. This contains the original internal memos. He lied. From Larkin's own leadership. Signed. Dated. Indisputable. A rustle from the balcony. One of the operatives stood and moved toward the stairs. Another near the exit placed a finger to his earpiece. They're making their move, Patrick muttered. William set the decoy drive on the podium. I'm going to leave it here. I don't need it anymore. Because now, the truth belongs to everyone. He stepped back, and the trap snapped shut. The man from the balcony lunged down the stairs. The one near the exit shoved open the door, motioning frantically to a black SUV that had just pulled up outside. But as soon as the agent reached the stage and snatched the drive, the screens around the auditorium blinked to life. Multiple camera angles displayed his face, his ID badge, and a timestamp overlay. Patrick's voice boomed through the speakers. Smile for the world, gentlemen. You've just been caught committing felony evidence tampering on federal property. Panic. The audience erupted in shouts. Phones flew up. The fake agents froze. The fire exit burst open again, but not with backup for Larkin. It was U.S. Marshals. Leona Torres had delivered. Hands up, one marshal barked. Drop the device. Chaos surged, but William stood calm, like the eye of a hurricane. The bait had been taken. The moment had been captured. It was over, at least this chapter. Within seconds, the 2 operatives were in cuffs. The SUV that had pulled up sped away, tires squealing, but Patrick already had its plate, and Elias had grabbed facial matches of the driver. The press was already broadcasting. The headlines wrote themselves. Whistleblower traps deep state agents in public sting. Former CEO lures Larkin operatives into the light. Justice Department confirms detainment linked to Monroe leak. That night, back in the safe house, William finally allowed himself to breathe. Anna sat beside him, her tiny legs swinging off the couch. She looked up with those deep eyes of hers, holding Beans tightly. Were those the bad people, Daddy? He nodded. Some of them, but not all of them. Not yet. Did Mommy see them too? He hesitated. She did, and she fought them, just like we are. Anna leaned her head against his arm. I miss her. So do I, he whispered. Patrick entered the room, holding up a laptop. You should see this. They've frozen Larkin's assets. DOJ is issuing subpoenas to 6 firms connected to them. Keen's gone underground. We're winning. William didn't smile. We haven't won yet, he said. But now they're running. Elias joined them, setting down 3 glasses. To Clara, he said quietly. William raised his. To Clara, the voice that wouldn't be silenced. They drank in silence. Outside, the snow had begun again, soft, persistent, cleansing, and deep in the heart of Washington, truth had found its way through the noise. The storm came not with thunder but with silence. 4 days after the sting operation, when news anchors still echoed William's name, and Clara Monroe had finally become more than a footnote. A new kind of quiet settled over the city. It was the kind that meant someone powerful was calculating. William sensed it the moment he woke, his instincts too honed to ignore. Something had shifted. Anna was still asleep, curled up against her pillow like a tiny statue. William didn't wake her. Instead, he walked to the living room, where Elias was already reviewing satellite movements and traffic anomalies around the safe house. They pulled back too fast, Elias muttered. Keen's gone dark. No phone signals. No travel records. He's not hiding. He's planning. Patrick entered with 2 coffees and tossed a flash drive onto the table. Intercepted comms from a private contractor in Montenegro. Code language. But we cracked enough of it to get one phrase. Omega override. Initiate phase Lazarus. William's brow furrowed. What the hell is phase Lazarus? It's not a protocol we've seen before, Patrick replied. But given how many names just got exposed, it's probably their nuclear option. Elias looked grim. If they can't stop the truth, they'll rewrite it. William exhaled. Then we stop them before they try. Oh. That evening, Leona Torres met William in a private room at the Capitol Archives. She slid him a sealed manila envelope. Her face was pale, her voice lower than usual. This came across my desk an hour ago. Not digitally. Courier drop. No prints. But it's real. Inside were photographs, grainy. Black and white surveillance photos from 6 years ago. A woman, Clara, being escorted into a black site facility. She looked gaunt, scared, but alive. William's heart stopped. This is after they claimed she disappeared. Leona nodded. And there's more. She pulled out a document heavily redacted but unmistakable. An executive order issued by a now retired intelligence director, authorizing discretionary containment of internal whistleblower threats under a clause called Lazarus contingency. They planned this, William whispered. They made her vanish. Leona met his eyes. And there's one name that keeps appearing. Not in ink, but in the metadata. Keen's aide, Alan Brewer. William flinched. Brewer had once worked inside Grant Technologies, quiet, methodical, a policy liaison before leaving under vague circumstances. Clara never trusted him. William, in his naivete, had dismissed her worry. He's the spider in the web, William said. And, according to my source, Leona added, he's holed up in a private compound just outside Langley. No badge access, no external signals, off the books. William stood. Then that's where this ends. 2 nights later, they came. Patrick, alias, and William approached the compound under cover of darkness. Anna was safely with Leona under protective detail, unaware that her father was walking toward the same shadows that had taken her mother. The compound was sleek, modern, buried in the woods behind a false corporate front. Security was tight, but predictable. These people were brilliant at surveillance, but arrogant in thinking no one would dare strike back. William, dressed in black, moved like a ghost through the brush. Patrick disabled perimeter sensors, and Elias looped the interior cams. Inside, they moved fast up a steel staircase, across a glass corridor, into a central office lit with dim amber lights. Alan Brewer sat behind a wide oak desk, waiting. You always were clever, Grant, he said coolly. But this isn't a game you can win. William didn't hesitate. Where's Clara? Brewer smiled. Gone. That's not an answer. Brewer leaned back. You still think this is about her? About one woman? William stepped forward. It's about what she knew. What you buried. She was a virus, Brewer replied. A threat to national continuity. You think exposing secrets makes you a hero, but all it does is collapse systems. People need structure. They want to be lied to. Patrick moved to his side. Where is the facility she was taken to? Brewer smiled again. Too late. Lazarus has already activated. In less than 48 hours, your files, everything you leaked, will be declared foreign disinformation. Synthetic fabrications. The platforms that mirrored you? Pulled under security orders. You'll be erased from history. William stared at him. And that's why you're alone right now? You always were a coward. Brewer's smile cracked. You think I'm alone? He reached under his desk. But William was faster. With one movement, he slammed Brewer's hand down and pinned it. while Patrick pulled a zip drive from the man's pocket, a data stick containing every contingency file Brewer had. "No kills," Elias said through comms. "This isn't revenge. This is proof." They left Brewer handcuffed to his desk and walked out with the drive, alarms blaring behind them. The final broadcast came the next morning. William sat before a simple camera in a borrowed church hall. His voice, steady and clear, carried the weight of everything they had uncovered. 6 years ago, Clara Monroe tried to tell the truth. She was silenced, hidden, declared missing. But today, we expose not just her story but the system that tried to bury it. Lazarus is real, but so are we. He played a file from Brewer's drive, an internal meeting recording of Larkin executives acknowledging the creation of false flag operations and containment sites. The names were spoken aloud, the truth undeniable. Within hours, major news outlets broke the silence. Congressional hearings were reopened. The Justice Department ordered full investigations into Larkin Global and its subsidiaries. The public tide shifted fierce, unwavering, and for the first time in years, William felt something that had eluded him since Clara's disappearance. Hope. He returned to Leona's safe house late that night. Anna ran into his arms, laughing. "Did you beat the bad guys?" she asked. William knelt, holding her tightly. "We're still fighting. But yes, we're winning." She looked up at him. Mommy would be proud. He didn't speak. He just held her, tears forming silently in his eyes. In the corner, Elias raised a glass to Patrick. "To the final shadow," Patrick nodded. "And the light that followed, it began with a sunrise. Not a symbolic one, an actual one. Warm golden light spilled across the Washington skyline as a quiet city slowly stirred. But inside the old Episcopal church on the edge of Georgetown, it wasn't just a new day. It was a reckoning. William sat in the back pew, alone with his thoughts. His coat was draped over the polished wood beside him. In his hands was the photo Anna had once dropped in the subway, the one of Clara, smiling, sunlight dancing on her hair, the one that started everything. The trial was set to begin in 48 hours. A federal court had ruled that the Larkin files and Brewer's confession met every burden of proof. Clara's name would finally be said in a courtroom. Not as a footnote in a smear campaign, but as a whistleblower, a truth teller, a patriot. But before that moment, William needed stillness. He hadn't told Anna yet, not all of it. She knew her mother had been brave, that she had been taken, that bad people had tried to erase her, but the depth of it, the cruelty, the betrayal, the years of silence that would come later, when she could understand not just what was lost, but what was saved. Footsteps echoed behind him. Patrick approached, hands in his coat pockets. "Figured I'd find you here," he said softly. William didn't look up. "I keep thinking about what Clara said in that last recording. About fire and memory. About how the truth isn't something we hold, it's something we pass on." Patrick sat beside him. "Well, you passed it, loud and clear. The world's listening now." A pause. "The Senate Ethics Committee just expelled Keene," Patrick added. "He tried to flee the country, but Torres got him flagged at Dulles, cuffed at the gate, mid-latte, kind of poetic." William gave a tired smile. "And Brewer? Still under federal protection, awaiting arraignment. He's cooperating. Probably to save his own skin." William looked down at the photo again. "Do you think Clara would have forgiven him?" Patrick exhaled slowly. "Number. But I think she'd be satisfied knowing the truth won. That his lies couldn't outlive her voice." The church bell rang out 9 o'clock. A quiet, measured toll. William stood, slipping the photo back into his pocket. "Come on," he said. "Anna's got a piano recital today." The elementary school gymnasium smelled like popcorn and pencil shavings. Fold-out chairs lined rows of anxious parents, teachers, and grandparents. At the front, a small upright piano sat beneath a paper banner reading, "Music is our superpower." Anna stood near the side stage in a navy blue dress with white buttons, hair braided neatly. Beans the bear tucked under her arm. She looked nervous, fidgeting, her eyes scanning the crowd. William waved from the third row. She smiled wide, then turned as the teacher called her name. She climbed onto the bench, her little fingers trembling slightly. And then music. Simple, clear, beautiful, Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. The same song Clara had taught her before the world changed. William felt his throat tighten. Every note carried more than melody. It carried memory. When she finished, the crowd clapped gently. Anna stood, bowed, and ran back down the steps straight into William's arms. "I messed up the middle part," she whispered. "You were perfect," he said. "Your mom would have loved that." Anna looked up at him. "You think she heard it?" William kissed the top of her head. "I know she did." That night, back at the apartment Torres had secured for them near the Capitol, William sat at the kitchen table reading through his official testimony one last time. Legal language, bullet points, timestamps, it was all there. But something still felt missing. Anna sat across from him coloring. "What are you drawing?" he asked. She pushed it across the table. It was a picture of a bear standing in front of a courthouse, holding a heart in one paw and a tiny child in the other. "That's you," she said. William's voice caught. "And who's this?" "Me and Mommy's the heart." He smiled, and then he turned to his statement and began to rewrite, not the facts, not the evidence, but the tone. Less mechanical, more human. He began with a new line. "My name is William Grant, but I'm here today because of a woman named Clara Monroe, and because of a little girl who reminded me that silence is never safer than the truth." The courtroom was packed. The world watched. As William took the stand, he saw Torres in the back row, standing beside Elias. Patrick stood near the door, arms crossed, eyes scanning, and in the gallery sat Anna, holding her bear, next to the teacher who volunteered to bring her. William looked into the camera, and he spoke. Of Clara, of Anna, of the network that tried to twist the nation's trust into profit. He described the night they chased Anna into the subway. The photo. The thread that unraveled a mountain of lies. He read Clara's words aloud. Her real words, not the edited sound bites, not the manipulated media. Her voice. And when he finished, the room was silent. Not from disbelief, from the weight of belief. The judge nodded slowly, then recessed the session. Outside, the steps of the courthouse filled with journalists. But William didn't stop to speak. He walked down the stairs, took Anna's hand, and kept walking past the noise, past the headlines. Anna looked up at him. "Is it over?" William shook his head. "Number, but we turned the lights on." She squeezed his hand. "Will the bad people come back?" "Maybe," he said. "But now they know we're watching, and we're not alone." He knelt beside her, eye level. "I need you to remember something, okay?" She nodded. "The truth," he said, pressing her hand to her heart, "always starts here. And no one, not even the powerful, can take it away if we protect it." Anna smiled, then pointed up. "Look." He turned. The courthouse flag rippled against a blue sky. Clear, open, and full of light. The story of William Grant, Clara Monroe, and their daughter Anna teaches us that truth is not just a weapon, it's a responsibility. Even in the face of betrayal, power, and fear, the courage to speak out can change the course of history. Justice may be delayed, voices may be silenced. But when truth is passed from one heart to another with love, with conviction, it cannot be erased. This story reminds us that one voice, when guided by purpose and integrity, can light the way for an entire nation.